So everyone's asked about it. Let's meet the real life Autumn. Please welcome Scott's fiance, Lauren Levy. Lauren, come on up. Have a seat here, Lauren. Is this working? Perfect. Here's your mic. Lauren.
Are you going to tell embarrassing stories now?
Well, you have no idea what's coming. But Lauren is not just Scott's fiance. She is a successful creative executive in her own right. She used to be with Miramax, and now she's moving on to Fox. I thought maybe you could share just maybe a little flavor, a little story of maybe how you guys met.
So it's a good story, but we tell it sort of differently. Hi, everybody. It's silly that I'm sitting up here with you, but thank you for inviting me. So we actually met, for those of you who are film students, we met in a general meeting. And it was, I read the script, so did my male colleague.
Yeah, that's how I roll.
So I read the script and loved it, and so did my male colleague. So we invited Scott in for a meeting, and Scott's writing partner, Weber, was on the phone. So you've got the guy on the box and the guy in the room. And we have this meeting, and I'm in work mode, and I'm not thinking about anything. And so, we have a great meeting, say goodbye. A couple hours later, I get the email that you always get after a meeting, which is from him to me and my male colleague.
I was making a move.
Saying, thanks so much for the meeting, great getting to sit down with you guys, stay in touch. My male colleague writes back.
But you read it wrong. It was like, stay in touch. It was definitely like, there was more to the email than you just said.
So within moments of getting the email, my male colleague, who's very on top of his inbox, unlike me, responds, and he replies all, and he says, great meeting you too, stay in touch, Mike and Lauren. So I'm done. I don't need to write back to him. How did you interpret that?
Well, the guy wrote back, so there was that was cool.
So it was like out and out rejection for Scott.
Yeah.
Nothing happened.
You could have opened the door like a little bit, and by writing back, and then I was gonna run through the door. Then I was gonna dive through the door, but yeah, he wrote back, and so you shut the door, and you know what? 6 months later, you finally wrote me back.
So 6 months later, I run into Scott at a party, and it was like I did not have my work goggles on. I had my Saturday night goggles on, and I was like, oh, he's really cute.
I look good in those Saturday night
He looked
goggles.
good.
That's where I shine.
So I might have had a cocktail or three, and
that's the secret about the goggles. That's what that was.
And then I said, of course, I've got his email address in my contacts because I did put it into my contacts after the meeting, and they're not for personal reasons, admittedly. But then I find it, and I email him at 2 o'clock in the morning, and I said, it was great running into you. We should hang out sometime. He writes back a half an hour later, and he's like, yeah, now this is an amazing response for a writer. Yeah, I don't cook, so I'm pretty much free anytime.
Accurate.
Amazing.
I like to be accurate in my email response.
So
you read that one wrong too, by the way.
So then, well, of course, we do actually have the written emails, so everything that I'm saying, this is fact. But so then we wind up, the next morning, I just had like enough of the 2 a.m. emailing because it's dangerous at that point. I'm like, all right, he said yes, we're done, I'm going to sleep. I wake up sober, and I was like, oh God. I work at a studio, and he's a writer, and I basically just asked him out at 2 o'clock in the morning, and this poor guy, like he probably doesn't want to go out with me, so I gotta backtrack now. So he had said, when should we get together? And I said, how about Tuesday?
Which to me was like, it's a work thing. Tuesday.
And to me, I was like, this poor guy, I don't want him to, if I was like Friday and he didn't want to go out with me, how uncomfortable would that be? So we go to dinner, and we had a really kind of a funny dinner. We had a great dinner. We closed down the restaurant. The waitress is ready to leave, so she brings the check and she puts it between us, and it just sits there. And so did it just sit there?
I was always going to pay.
Right.
When you reach for here's my feeling, it's like when you reach for the check in the middle of like a thing, the signal is like, okay, we're done now. And I was like, no, let's hang out for a while.
But in this industry, etiquette dictates that the executive always pays for the writers.
Does anyone want to hear this story? We just, it's like, why are we doing this?
So finally, he, after going to the bathroom and leaving the check on the table when he went to the bathroom,
Trying to dine and dash.
he made it clear that it was a date by taking the check out for her to pay.
And then we lived happily ever after.
And then we lived happily ever after, and we got engaged.
One second. Is that on? Oh, yeah. Do you need rebuttal time reserved, or are you okay with that?
I got my thing in that I need to say about that terrible story. Just telling it's completely inaccurate.
Well, it is really fun for us to hear the story of this movie, the story of sort of how you got this movie, and the story of how the two of you connected. It's been a fun ride to watch, both of you, and expect to see great things. I think as great as this chapter's been, it's going to pale in comparison to what you're going to do next. It's going to be really fun to watch. Let's hear for Scott,
Thank
for
you.
Lauren.
Thanks for coming.